But thank you for being with us. This is our first Coffee and Conversations of 2022, and we are excited to share a year of impact. I'm Alex, I'm with United Way, but I am just welcoming everybody, and I'm going to quickly go ahead and pass it on to the stars of the show, the folks who do this great work. And we're going to start things off with Savannah. So, Savannah, take it away.
Thank you so much, Alex. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is having an amazing Wednesday. My name is Savannah Ray, and I am the Director of Educational Engagement and Partnerships here at United Way of the Piedmont. And then I also sit with the Spartanburg Academic Movement. So as Alex mentioned, today we are going to be talking about a year of impact. And so I have the honor of sharing our highlights, our education highlights for this year. So the first area that I wanted to share about is our Prepared to Thrive initiative. This year, we were so excited to launch Prepared to Thrive, which is our multi-strategy approach to early literacy and education in our community. And so just to provide a little bit more context about what that is, in developing this approach, we thought about how children would be impacted by their time outside of the classroom due to the pandemic, and also honed in on how school readiness would be impacted. And we recognized that the success for this particular approach included multiple layers who impact a child. So the family, educators, and the community. So after really talking with our school districts, there are 4 areas that we launched with this particular initiative. One being access to books to support early literacy. The second area being parental engagement, because we recognize that learning starts at the home or in the home. And so helping ensure families and caregivers are equipped with the tools to support children. Third, child care center and teacher supports. So really supporting our early child care and educational professionals and early learning environments. And then finally, summer climb support. So really combating the tendency for students to lose some of their academic achievement throughout the summer that they made during the previous year. So on our next slide, through our Prepared to Thrive initiative so far, we have supported 14 programs in Cherokee and Spartanburg counties. And these are programs that promote parental and child engagement. And these programs have also distributed over 14,780 books so far for children birth to 5 to support our book access part of that strategy. And we're also expanding these strategies into Union County and continuing to expand in Spartanburg and Cherokee. So really excited about rolling out this particular initiative, which one of our next near-term priorities and activities will be focusing on supporting new teacher libraries or their classroom libraries by hosting book drives, and also continuing to stock our Little Free libraries. Next area that I want to highlight is our Out of School Time Collaborative, which United Way supports through our partnership with SAM, the Spartanburg Academic Movement. And so our collaborative at the Out of School Time really exists to close these opportunity gaps by improving, expanding, and sustaining high quality after school and summer programming, particularly for middle and high school age youth in Spartanburg County. So one of our strategies in the collaborative include removing barriers to access and participation so that we can increase the participation among young people in positive youth development programming, especially for those with the greatest need. So this year, as you see on the screen, we've been able to provide opportunities to over 160 youth during our summer shakedown, and then about 83 youth during our fall forward, totaling over $48,000 in summer scholarships and fall scholarships. So if you are not familiar with what Summer Shakedown and Fall Forward refer to. Those are our programs offered by the youth serving providers who are a part of the collaborative. And we share their programs during the summer on a website. And we also have, for the first time, shared the offerings during the school year. So not only do we share those offerings by our collaborative partners who share a commitment to program quality, to equity, and being trauma informed, but youth and families can also request financial assistance and participate in an activity of their choice. So we've had Summer Shakedown for the past 3 years, and this was the first year for Fall Forward. I mean, we also, during this time period of Summer Shakedown and Fall Forward, we launched a pilot to offer coordinated after-school programs that provides youth in grades 6th through 8th with a range of enriching activities with the purpose of really improving academic, social, and emotional development among our youth. And so right now we have 6 program partners with a cohort of students at one of our schools, and our plan is to replicate this model across different locations in schools in the county and in the community. In addition to our Fall Forward and Summer Shakedown, we were also able to serve, if you can go back, we served almost 1,000 families, so 993 youth and families across 14 of our out-of-school programs for COVID equitable recovery, really looking at how to advance educational and racial equity, specifically, again, looking at academic recovery, social recovery, and emotional support, and then also direct support for families. Next slide. And then finally, our Youth Philanthropy Board is an area that I want to highlight. Our Youth Philanthropy Board here at United Way consists of about 20 high school juniors and seniors throughout Spartanburg County. And each year they have the opportunity to gain experience about fund development and the grant making process. So this group meets about monthly to learn about community issues and invest money in the form of micro grants. And so this year, our Youth Philanthropy Board awarded over $4,000, so $4,650 to 6 local programs. So we're excited about that. In addition to providing and investing these micro grants to community partners, they also, for the first time, developed a racial equity committee and hosted a racial equity training for teens. And so as our commitment to race, equity, and inclusion here at United Way, we've partnered with the Spartanburg Racial Equity Collaborative to participate in trainings for our adult leaders. So we were really proud that our youth leaders really led the charge to fundraise and coordinate a training for other teens. So excited to share these highlights. That's all I have to share for education, and I will pass the baton over to engagement with Lauren.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Holtstrand. I'm the Director of Community Engagement here at the United Way. Coming up on almost a full year, so a full year of projects and volunteerism, and getting to know all of you who are in the community and wishing to be engaged. Next slide. So we've got a couple of different ways that we engage people in our communities within our 3-county footprint. One of the ways is our signature projects, which you might have heard referred to as quarterly projects previously, but they weren't quite spaced out exactly quarterly. So we switched up the name. So if you hear signature projects, it's still kind of our same projects that we do annually. But this year, even coming out of the difficulties that we experienced with COVID, our Stuff the Bus Back to School supply drive was extremely successful across our counties, but there were over 1,700 students served, which is a significant amount. And one really neat aspect of our school supply drive is that we work with the counties to distribute the school supplies, And so we, to the best of our abilities, make distribution equitable. So we're splitting school supplies by the need within each county. And so we're able to work with those school districts who are unbelievably excited to receive these supplies every single year. There's great opportunity to contribute with school supplies. There's great volunteer opportunities. And to serve all of these students, we've got a lot of different options for our community members. Next slide. I don't know why I'm pressing my arrow key like it's gonna move. So our next signature project that I hope you guys have heard of is Overflow Thanksgiving, which is in Spartanburg, and our Stock the Pantry food drives, which are in Cherokee and Union. But this year, it was a huge success. And we had over 1,400 families served through these food drives, which is a significant amount of individuals who were able to receive either in Spartanburg, they received full meal boxes for Thanksgiving. So all of the things that you would need to make a traditional Thanksgiving meal, along with other items as well to kind of carry through some of the holiday months. So this is also in Cherokee and Union. We had great partnerships to make these projects happen. In Cherokee, we worked with the Salvation Army food ministry. In Spartanburg, we worked with the Bridge and Total, and we worked with a couple different partners in Union to make this happen. So very exciting. This one will be coming back around in Thanksgiving time, so keep a lookout. Next slide. So we also do a couple of different other types of projects. So in addition to our signature projects, which happen regularly, we've got group projects and different community collections that we're able to contribute throughout the year, just as needs arise, as groups approach us about volunteering. But over the last year, we had 261 volunteers with over 562 hours of service, which is very significant. So we work with corporate groups, we work with community groups, we work with churches, leadership groups, you name it. Our goal is to connect our community members with meaningful and beneficial volunteer experiences for the people in our community to meet specific needs within the areas that we serve for education, economic mobility, and health. Gracious. So yes. So these are opportunities that also we can have individuals volunteer through our Get Connected service. These numbers don't actually include our Get Connected volunteers specifically. These are just our groups, but we've got multiple levels of engagement as well as volunteerism go that our community members can be involved in. Next slide. So this year, we actually were able to partner with WSPA and Hardee's on a book drive. And it was really exciting to see so many community members drop off gently used books to the different locations. And so we were able to collect over 1,374 books. And some of these went to Lone Oak Elementary School, some went to Jesse Bobo, and we also were able to stock our little free libraries. So that was a great opportunity for a project, like I said, one that came up. It wasn't necessarily planned, and we're so grateful for it. But that's a great segue into, we are going to have a Prepared to Thrive book drive coming up. Savannah alluded to that earlier. So be looking this May for ways to be involved in another book drive that will contribute to first-year teacher classroom libraries. So that's a really exciting opportunity. Stay tuned for that one. Next slide. And in the wintertime, we were approached about a need for warm clothing for some of the children in our communities. And this project was wildly successful, if you can't tell. We had so much great participation from the community, and over 880 students received these kits that had blankets, gloves, hats, scarves, and I think hand lotion in them. So that was across all 3 counties, but this was a significant impact and actually led to more conversations about needs that our students have around warm clothing in the winter. So this was a really big one, and this was really driven by community support and partnerships. And so we're very grateful for the Winter Warmth Drive. Okay, next slide. So another way that we engage beyond volunteerism and donations / collections of items is we've got education and training opportunities like the one you're attending today. So for the Racial Equity Institute, we had 37 participants. With Coffee and Conversations, 189. With our poverty simulations, we've got 78. And Elevating Inclusive Excellence Training, we had 99 participants. And so all of these are different levels of ways that people can be trained up to, again, volunteer and serve our community, and board basics with that 56 participants. So this is just one of the ways that we split engagement between our different departments, but when you sit down and look at all of those hours and all of those participants within just an education and training scope, 459 people just engaged with what we do here at the United Way. And so I think that's a pretty significant amount, and we appreciate all of your participation in all of these endeavors.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Daniel. I'm the Director of Economic Mobility Programs, and I'm going to share a little bit with you today about successes that we've had over the past year as it relates to our economic mobility initiatives. So our first success was that we opened the Financial Opportunity Center, also referred to as the FOC. It's here at the Old Northwest Community Center. And so we share the space with Spartanburg Opportunity Center on the other side of the building. We opened that in January of 2021, and we've had over 1,000 appointments for both tax preparation through our VITA program, as well as case management as it relates to individuals seeking financial assistance during COVID. And we can go to the next slide. And as I just spoke about VITA, so for our 2020 tax year, even with COVID, we were able to prepare 2,618 returns, which resulted in over $4 million in refunds. And we had, of that, 784,610 were earned income credit, which is really important to families in our community for them to receive that money back. And we were able to save taxpayers $523,600 in filing fees that they would have paid a paid preparer in order to file their 2020 taxes. So we're pretty proud of that. Okay, and then we also have 211 information. So 211 is the number, the 24/7 resource hotline that individuals within our community and across the state of South Carolina can call if they have a need and receive information and referrals. So 211 in our Tri-County area received 5,924 calls. They made 13,222 referrals for rent, utility, housing, and food services. And that is in Spartanburg, Cherokee, and Union County. So that includes our Tri-County area. And we can go to the next slide. Oh, did we skip one? Okay, sorry. And then one other success that we've had is our Community Resource Coordinator program. So we currently have, and Hannah dropped the link for South Carolina 211. It's a phone number. There's also an app that you can download on your phone, as well as a website. But our Community Resource Coordinator program, we have 6 individuals, 6 community resource coordinators out in our community. They serve within our schools, at Cleveland Academy, within certain safety net partner agencies, as well as workplaces in our community. And so we have them in Spartanburg and Cherokee counties, and we also serve Union County. So they provided intensive case management to 1,203 households. during the last year, with 28% of those clients making significant progress towards self-sufficiency and increasing their overall stability in 12 months, which is the purpose of that program. We want to see people succeed and meet them where they are. The next slide. So as part of individuals who are linked up with our community resource coordinators, they have access to our homeless prevention funds. And so those prevent homelessness, so paying for rent and utility assistance, or helping families end homelessness. So over the past year, we've distributed $82,477 in rent and utility assistance to 192 families. And we've prevented homelessness for 147, which means we paid rent or utilities for them in order to avoid a shutoff or an eviction. And then we've actually ended homelessness for 45 families, which means we've paid a deposit, whether that be utilities or a housing deposit. One other thing that we had going on in 2021, as well as part of the bleeding into 2022, was our economic mobility related to United for All funds and COVID relief. So the United for All was across our Tri-County area, and COVID relief, ERAP, was just in Spartanburg County, but this is a total for everything. So in Spartanburg County, we gave over $2,448,432 distributed to 802 families. That's a big number. And then in Cherokee and Union counties, we had 98,310 distributed to 115 families that were impacted by COVID across a spectrum of issues. For our other program, we focus on transportation. And so we had Ride United, and we had some federal dollars. So we were able to provide transportation to and from work or school for 209 low-income residents in our Tri-County area. And so that was able to happen because of our Ride United program, which provided individuals with a lift pass, a $350 lift pass. We have since closed the applications for those because the funding was running low. It had an expiration date, and we've instead transferred to a new program that's on the next slide. And that is the SWIFT Enterprise Commute Program. And so we're really proud of this. This is an initiative that's happened in conjunction with a lot of different partners, but it's Enterprise Commute, enterprises in rent-a-car. There's a van pool program that they have. And here in Spartanburg County, we have a partnership with Grace Management, the city of Spartanburg, and other organizations. So this lady that you see right here, her name is Celeste, and Celeste works at Grace Management. She had her driver's license, but just didn't have the availability to buy a car. Just wasn't in the financial place to do that, which is understandable given today's car prices. So we were able to connect her with our Enterprise Commute individual, and they were able to get her a car. And so she's the van pool driver, and she has a couple other employees who ride to work with her in the morning. She's able to use this car for her personal time as well. And it's just a great way for individuals to get on the road, and for us to provide transportation to individuals. So Grace Management is our only one currently, but there are talks to expand this program into other industries and areas in Spartanburg. One other thing I'll share is about the Opportunity Housing Collaborative, which is really important. We completed the Spartanburg County Opportunity Housing Collaborative Action Plan. And so that focuses on opportunities for and knowledge regarding access to quality, affordable housing in Spartanburg County. And it's something that we're continuing to work on as we proceed into the new year. And just one other additional thing I'll share, there's a lot under economic mobility, is related to the Homeless Task Force. So a program that was launched in 2021 was the Litter Hero Pilot Program. And so that provides case management, life skills, and workforce development to individuals who are experiencing homelessness or housing instability. So we were able to identify, in partnership with SPIN and Miracle Hill, as well as the city of Spartanburg and the county of Spartanburg, in addition to numerous other partners, individuals who were experiencing homelessness, who were eager to go to work, start a job. So they are hired through SPIN. They work with the city and the county to do litter pickup around the area. And then they receive life skills from Hope Ministries here in Spartanburg, as well as case management from United Way of the Piedmont. And they are housed at Miracle Hill for lodging. And then at the end of their 90-day program, they graduate, they receive full-time jobs at a place of their choosing. And they also move into a transitional living house sponsored by Miracle Hill called Copperline. So we've had 2 individuals who graduated the program in September of 2021, and we now have 3 individuals who are in the program, and they will graduate at the end of March. And there are plans to have a 3rd pilot program, as well as expand this program to include other industries and really grow and help individuals experiencing homelessness in our community. And I'm going to turn it over to Hannah for behavioral health.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I am Hannah Jarrett. I am Vice President of Community and Collective Impact here at United Way of the Piedmont, and I'm going to share just a few highlights of our behavioral health work in our community over the past year. When we talk about behavioral health, we're talking about mental health and substance abuse. We have our Sharpen Family app, which is a resource for individuals, families, including children and youth, to access mental health services and resources. The Sharpen Family app contains over 400 educational modules on mental health topics that support individuals and families who might be experiencing challenges related to mental health. It is trauma-informed and evidence-based, and it was created in collaboration with United Way, as well as several other partners, really focused on stress, anxiety, depression, and other types of mental health challenges. In this past year, over 900 users connected to resources through the app, including crisis intervention lines, so suicide prevention hotlines, for example, mental health screenings, and other types of resources to help improve the mental health of our community. We also, through a partnership with the Department of Mental Health and the Behavioral Health Task Force, back in 2018, we opened the Eubank Center Peer Support Living Room. This is a resource for individuals who maybe are experiencing mental health symptoms, but they haven't escalated to the point of needing to go to the hospital or seek some type of immediate crisis intervention. And they can go to the Peer Support Living Room. That is a home-like setting. When you walk in, it's very welcoming and environment that's much like a living room. And there they can access mental health services that maybe will prevent them from being hospitalized or having to go to the emergency room for some type of mental or behavioral health crisis. And it's really aimed at reducing the stigma for seeking mental health services for individuals in our community. So overall, since it launched in 2018, over 1,000 people have there have been over 1,000 visits to the Eubank Center, over 720 individuals. And one of the things that we really look at with this program, again, is how can we make sure that we're reducing hospitalization due to mental health by catching those symptoms early and providing resources more upstream so that individuals don't find themselves in such a crisis where they have to seek hospitalization. So just in this past year, over our 32 individuals have been diverted from the emergency room because of the services that they've been able to access at the Eubank Center. And the last thing that I wanted to share related to behavioral health is a Systems of Care grant that Spartanburg Area Mental Health Center and Spartanburg County Department of Mental Health received. This does cover all 3 counties, even though it's the Spartanburg County Department of Mental Health, they do cover our 3-county area. this year, or over the past couple of years, I guess you could say, our behavioral health work, we've been trying to intentionally focus on services for youth and their family, knowing that children and adolescents in our community, they do experience mental health crises and challenges. So we're proud and excited for this grant that was received by DMH. It's a 4-year Systems of Care grant, and it's really aimed at assessing the services that are provided to children and families in our communities, and then getting a sense of what services are provided. Are they accessible? Are there any gaps or barriers? And then implementing strategies that provide a full continuum of services for that child and that family to reduce hospitalization and severe crisis related to mental health, so that our children and adolescents have those resources that they need, those coping mechanisms, those medical supports that they need in order to be able to be resilient through their mental health challenges that they experience. So this just launched, so there will be more to come in the following years, because this is a 4-year grant, but we're very excited for what this could mean for the mental health of children in our community.
Great, thank you, Hannah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emily O'Brien. I am the Director of Advocacy, and like Savannah, I'm shared between United Way of the Piedmont and Spartanburg Academic Movement. So I'm a bridge between the two organizations, and sometimes I wear a different hat. So today, I'll talk just about the United Way of the Piedmont's new Advocacy Agenda. I started my role in October. Just for a little bit of legislative context, we are in the second year of a 2-year legislative cycle. So that's helpful to know as I move forward through some of our slides. I'm going to go ahead and drop a link in the chat to our new and improved advocacy website if you'd like to follow along with me as I define some of our roles, our levels of engagement, and how we are going to be selecting policy priorities moving forward. So advocacy to folks means a lot of different things depending on which realm or which world and sector you're working in. But I understand advocacy to operate at the grassroots level as well as the grass tops level. And my position is a bridge between the two. So I'm engaging with both levels every day. Grassroots advocacy is very community centered and community driven. That's often the most visible or vocal element of advocacy work and what most folks would think about when they think about advocacy. A lot of community organizing comes in on that level, but grass tops happens at the policy stakeholder level. So whether that's city or county government, municipal affairs, or state government level, that's where grass tops decisions are being made. So United Way of the Piedmont is going to be engaging advocacy at both levels and relying on community to move some of our priority areas forward, and sometimes operating behind the scenes very quietly at the state level. If we'll go back one slide, perfect. There are going to be 4 ways that we engage in advocacy to move us through systems change. And United Way of the Piedmont might engage depending on the issue in different ways. And I'll walk through that just a little bit later. But I just want to share how important it is that we're doing direct service and my coworkers are making an impact in such a real and tangible way. And we also need policy change and systems change to create a better environment for our neighbors to thrive. So that's where the advocacy and policy piece comes in. The 4 levels of engagement are lead, advocate, support, or monitor. Again, this could change from issue to issue, and we could engage multiple of these levers depending on the issue that we're facing. So at the lead level of advocacy, this is where I, as the director of policy and or director of advocacy, designate a lot of my time or resources to researching an issue, to tracking an issue, and then engaging in decision maker and stakeholder conversations. We're educating legislators at this level. We're educating our internal and external partners, and we make a clear policy position at this level. Right below that is advocate. And this is the same as lead in many ways with my time, with the ability to do research and engage folks. But this I understand to be more of a community education level. So when we're leading, I'm engaging policymakers, decision makers, more behind the scenes. And at advocate, I'm definitely focusing more on the communal side of making sure that our community members are aware of an issue and feel empowered to understand and perhaps speak on an issue. At this level, we may also be joining coalitions to advance policy and advocacy work. When we join 2 or 3 or several state partners, we have a much stronger voice. So that happens at the advocate level. Below that is something that we would support. And so this is where we're not taking a lead. Some of our community partners or other organizations might be better suited to lead on an issue, but we can add our name on a sign-on letter or share information and data from our work to support other organizations in their advocacy work. And we can designate resources or our social and political capital to move an issue forward together as we support another group leading. And finally, monitor would be a level of engagement where I am just tracking an issue. I know that it's not within our main bold goals of economic mobility, health, or education, but sometimes there are issues that indirectly affect those 3 areas in the day-to-day life of our neighbors. So I'll be tracking an issue. We may or may not take a stance on this, but we're very active and aware behind the scenes. So we can go ahead and move to the next slide. Great. So we are going to be looking for 2022. Again, this is the second year of our legislative cycle. We're halfway done with this legislative session. It'll end the second Tuesday in May, where this is moving very quickly. And so for the end of this year, these are our 5 target priority goals that we'll be looking at legislatively. We have childcare and early childhood education, educational attainment, securing American Rescue Plan Act, which is I'll refer to as ARPA for this presentation. We're securing some funds for a few initiatives I'll talk about in a moment, thinking about economic mobility and basic needs in policy and access to health and safe environments. So before we move into that, I just want to share how we select policies. It is strategic. There are so many issues that we would love to be involved in that might be outside of our scope. So I have some criteria for how I select policy priorities moving forward. So first, it has to be nonpartisan and issue focused. Policies should address social, economic, educational, or health outcomes in our tri-county footprint. They should address equity, opportunity gaps, or structural barriers. There should be a feasible path for enacting or implementing this policy. We're not going to go for the pipe dreams. We really need to focus our efforts on something that's likely to pass. And we're hoping that those most closely related to the issue would be better off after this policy is enacted and involved in the passing of the legislation. And so there's some accountability measures there that I'll be tracking. Again, it has to involve some of our community partners. And if it's outside our scope, but directly impacts our work, that's how I would decide to monitor. So as we move into our priority areas, first is the early childhood education and childcare. At this kind of theme or issue area, this is so big and it affects so many neighbors in our community. This is where we will take a lead on some Prepared to Thrive and kindergarten readiness programs. We have convened conversations about adequate, accessible childcare. We'll be moving more into this space with some partners in the future. And we really want to bring awareness to the intersection of childcare and the workforce. Economic recovery happens when we can connect folks and working folks to resources and quality and affordable childcare and education opportunities. So we'll be taking some pretty strong measures to move forward into those spaces by the end of this session, and especially for the 2023 legislative cycle. In educational attainment, we're talking about associate's degrees and higher for our community members. So we're leading with some awareness about a great program the governor signed called Workforce Scholarships. This is tuition assistance. It's free tuition for certain associate's degrees in high needs fields where there is a labor shortage it's not all associate's degrees, but it's many associate's degrees. So we're really making sure our community members know that those scholarships are available. And of course, Spartanburg Community College has been leading the way with free tuition. We're so grateful for that initiative, and we'll continue to have a microphone to make sure that our community members can access those programs. We'll work with our One Spartanburg to make sure that we can move towards the 40-30 challenge to raise baccalaureate attainment. Again, that's not associate degrees, but that's baccalaureate and above, to 40% of our community by 2030. Of course, with educational attainment, we need to talk about mental health services in schools so that youth will stay in school and feel supported. And then increasing awareness about the Sharpen Family app that Hannah talked about earlier. And the final piece with educational attainment is an initiative that's close to passing. We're not quite there, but we're moving the ledge here in the legislature. It's a financial literacy class. This is Senate Bill 16, and we're hoping to see that pass before the end of session. That would add a graduation requirement in financial literacy for all seniors. Is it going to lift folks directly out of poverty? No, but it's teaching critical skills in understanding debt, understanding credit. What about college loans and student loans? And there's some just basic finance. I wish I had this in high school. It would help me quite a lot. And that's close to passing. That has bipartisan support. We're very excited. And of course, with educational attainment also comes broadband infrastructure and digital access. Then we'll move into the ARPA funds. This is pretty dry. I'm not going to bore you with some of these details, but the state has a windfall of federal funding right now, and we're supporting a group called Together SC in a direct ask to our legislature to secure $100 million in funding for nonprofits, and it would create competitive grants. So nonprofits are often on the front lines and have the most direct access to folks in need. So when we think about economic recovery as we move through the pandemic, nonprofits are most suited to help folks directly without some of the bureaucratic processes of working with government aid and support. So we're asking for those funds to invest directly in communities through nonprofits. Then we have economic mobility. Some of our work here is going to move towards our bold goal of decreasing the number of folks in our footprint, Tri-County footprint, below the self-sufficiency standard by 11,000. We're working with the Opportunity Housing Collaborative, leading the Homelessness Prevention Fund. And of course, our 211 hotline there is something that we're leading. And finally, our health element here, access to healthcare and safe environments. That would include 211 and Sharpen Family. We also convene the Behavioral Health Task Force. So those are the levels that we're leading. And we will advocate and support our partner Mental Health America in their rollout this summer of a suicide prevention hotline. And the number for that will be 288. That will launch in July. So there's several things that we can support to move towards behavioral health in our community. I welcome questions about advocacy. I would love to get more folks involved on our website, our new advocacy page that our brand experience team did a great job. There is a link where you can add your email if you'd like to stay involved in our advocacy efforts moving forward. I will say our agenda, you'll see on our website, is going to be a living document. So issues come up and we know that advocacy has to be responsive and adaptive. So that's a living document. If there's an issue that you think we need to address, I would welcome a meeting with you or a phone call. And I'm grateful to be part of this team as we move into the advocacy realm. So I will end there. There's two kind of public works that we put out just to, again, raise awareness about issues. There's a piece from Paige about the ARPA funding and why nonprofits are best suited for community kind of economic development efforts. And then we have our workforce scholarship piece that we'll continue to use our microphone about. So I will end there.
Thanks, Emily. And thanks to everybody who presented those great numbers. Excuse me, I did just want to jump in really quickly and see if we have any questions. That's a lot of information. And actually, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see faces. But that's a lot of information. And it talks about all the great work that's happening here at United Way. You know, we hear a lot like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you did that. Or I didn't know, you know, all the great things that United Way is doing. So now's your chance to ask some questions. We've got a little bit of extra time. before we wrap things up. So feel free to drop something in the chat, or you can also feel free to unmute yourself and chime in with questions. All right, I'm seeing some stuff happen in chat. That's great. Okay, the first question I see, I will go ahead and dive in, is Emily, if you could provide the Senate bill number for financial literacy. Again, if you have that on hand, and maybe, oh, there, she's already on it. Already on it. All right,
Yep.
great.
There we go. It's Senate
Thank
Bill
you.
16, and there is a typo. We're going to make sure we correct that. The number for that suicide prevention hotline rollout is 988, not 288. That was a slip on my part. Thank you.
Great. Other questions, thoughts? Seeing all kinds of great stuff in the chat. Appreciate the positive feedback. While y'all are mulling over maybe some questions, I will say that we are recording today. This will be on our YouTube and will be sent out. I also am happy to share the presentation slides with all of that great data. Again, we know it's a lot, so happy to send that out. We've checked everybody in that has been on this call today, so you'll be receiving those things via email. Keep an eye out there. And feel free to share it as well. This is great stuff, so we appreciate spreading the word as well. Any other questions? Okay, I see one from Carolyn. Savannah presented about programs for student. Is that all schools and districts or targeted ones? Savannah, you want to handle that?
Sure. Are you referring to our Prepared to Thrive? Or can you just give me a little bit more details about your question? So I'll say that our Prepare to Thrive is an initiative across all of our, or all 3 of our counties that we serve. And then when I talked about our Out of School Time Collaborative, that is a Spartanburg County initiative that impacts all 7 school districts.
Great. I'm looking, we got a lot coming in the chat, making sure I'm not missing any questions. Well, and like I said, feel free to unmute. Otherwise, I think we'll go ahead and can close things out, and maybe even end a couple minutes early. We appreciate y'all being here. All right, we're interested to hear more about how education supports and programs will be expanded to Cherokee and Union. Savannah, if you've got some info on that, that'd be great.
Sorry, I was having an issue with our mute. So with our Prepare to Thrive initiative, I mentioned that we had some programs in Spartanburg County and Cherokee. And so right now we're in the process of expanding the reach of that programming that really looks at school readiness and early childhood education, really from birth all the way to age 8, 2nd to 3rd grade. So we are focusing on all 3 of our counties there to make sure that the supports are in place. So I think not only in the work that I'm doing in education, but some of the work that Lauren is also doing in engagement to support those 4 different pillars that I mentioned related to parental engagement, book access, summer climb supports, and then the early childhood, early literacy supports for childcare centers.
Great. Thank you. All right, guys, I don't see any more questions coming in. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our fearless leader, Paige Stevenson.
Well, thank you, Alex, and thank you to the team. And if y'all will join me in appreciating them. You know, I think one of the things to just know is that nothing happens because of one person, one organization. You know, as a leader, you know that it's important to surround yourself with amazing team members. And I am very blessed to have stumbled into that along the way. So I will say too, I hope you have noticed this morning that partnership is one of those key pieces to the success that we are having in this community. And for those of you who are individual partners, organizational partners, just know that we are very appreciative of your support and you being at the table with us. One of the things too is we've listened this morning. I hope you see how interconnected education, economic mobility, and health are. And we are big believers that we need to be investing in programs. We need to be providing programs on our own. But I hope you realize the importance of having someone like Emily at the table, because that advocacy piece is where we're really going to be able to lift up and move things forward from a systems change standpoint. All of this is really focused on that mission that we have to connect, engage, and inspire people to transform our community. And every day we are getting up and, as you see, living into our why. And our why is that we believe that everyone deserves that opportunity to thrive. And I hope that you have seen those individual lives that have been changed through the report you've heard this morning. That through line of diversity, equity, and inclusion is important, and we're trying to make sure that it runs throughout all of our work. We are doing work as individual team members, but also as an organization to make sure that we are that we aren't just having a statement out around race, equity, and inclusion, but that we're really living into that. And so we want you to help hold us accountable for that. But our goal is also to support our partners who are on this journey as well. And so if you've got ideas, we love to have that feedback and input. Your investment of time, talent, and treasure has really enabled us over this past year to be nimble in our response to the changing community needs. I had several people over the past 2 years actually, ask, oh, well, where do I need to be focusing my giving and what's the greatest need? And my response has been, there are particular needs right now that we know, but tomorrow things could be completely different. And so making sure that you're investing in a way that allows us to be nimble is very critical. We want to make sure too, as an organization, that we are focusing on those statewide efforts so that we're positively impacting our local nonprofits and community members. And that's one of the reasons that we are part of the United Way Association of South Carolina, but also why we choose to be at the table with Together SC, because we believe that as a sector, that nonprofits have the opportunity to do some powerful things. We are the third largest sector, and we need to make sure that others realize that, and that we're here to positively impact things as we go forward. Everything that you've heard this morning connects back to that bold goal that we have of decreasing the number of individuals who are living below self-sufficiency by 11,000. And so as we're moving forward and looking at how we're going to structure things, that is the goal. Everything is going to be feeding into that. So I encourage you to stay tuned, stay connected with us, because there are going to be more exciting things on the horizon. As you know, as many of you know, we have a new community impact agenda. And for the first time in eons, our grant process is going to be thrown completely wide open. And so if you've got innovative ideas in those areas of education, economic mobility, and health, I would encourage you to reach out to Hannah so that we can explore what those possibilities might be. And that whole grant process Those letters of intent, I believe, will start in April or May. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. And thank you so much for being here with us this morning. And thank you for your commitment to Live United.